America is the largest debtor nation in world history. No nation has ever been this deep in debt. And if or when interest rates go higher, many people are going to go. I mean, Connecticut is bankrupt. Illinois is bankrupt. Many places are actually bankrupt now. And when interest rates go higher, it's going to put them out of business. I don't like saying any of this, Daryl. I'm an American like you, but I have to face facts. And the U.S. government, when interest rates go higher, its interest rate is going to absolutely go through the roof. And it's going to affect all of us, whether we're homeowners or whatever we are. Car, if we buy a car, anything, it's going to have an effect on us. As you know, the U.S. is no longer as competitive as it used to be in the world markets. I'm not the only one who knows that. And many companies have moved away, put factories in other places. They're forcing them out. There'll be more of the same. I mean, if you're trying to compete on the world market and you have to pay higher taxes and everybody else has to pay higher taxes, it's impossible to compete. So you have to manufacture somewhere else. It's not good for America. But Mrs. Yellen and Mr. Biden, their whole lives, have loved taxing and borrowing and spending money. The U.S., especially, I'll start there, has borrowed and spent and printed a huge amount of money. And whenever you spend a lot of money and print a lot of money, things usually get better, at least for a while. And that's what's happening in North America, Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. If you have too much of something, the value goes down. It doesn't matter whether it's apples or whatever it is. Money, everything goes down when you have too much of it. Well, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury both say, don't worry, we have this under control. If there's inflation, it's transitory, etc. Now, I know from history that either they don't know what they're talking about or they're lying, because throughout history, when you have staggering amounts of money printed and borrowed and spent, it's nearly always led to inflation. And we do see inflation rising now. I would suspect we're going to have more inflation despite what these guys say. I have certainly learned I've been investing a long time and have been reading a long time. I've learned that most of the time, these guys either don't know what they're talking about or lie. I suspect it's both this time as well. They're just not being honest with all of us, not being honest with themselves. It's going to wind up the same way everywhere. Prices are already starting to go up. It doesn't matter whether it's entertainment or education or go to the dentist, anything, food, go to a restaurant, go to the supermarket, and you will see prices are going up. That will continue. They won't go up every day, every week. There will be times when things calm down. But when you have so much money printing, as we've had recently, it has always led to higher inflation. History shows, Elliot, well, first of all, history shows that no country stayed on top forever, 100, 200 years at the max, and then they peak and go into decline. So I presume we're no different from anybody else. But one of the problems with history is people don't learn the lessons of history. We had a president recently who didn't know history. If he did know history, he said he was smarter than history. I know I'm not smarter than history, and history is very clear. No nation and no currency, by the way, because they sometimes go hand in hand, has stayed on top forever. So America is the largest debtor nation in world history. No nation has ever been this deep in debt. And if or when interest rates go higher, many people are going to go. I mean, Connecticut is bankrupt. Illinois is bankrupt. Many places are actually bankrupt now. And when interest rates go higher, it's going to put them out of business. I don't like saying any of this, Daryl. I'm an American like you, but I have to face facts. And the U.S. government, when interest rates go higher, its interest rate is going to absolutely go through the roof. And it's going to affect all of us, whether we're homeowners or whatever we are. Car, if we buy a car, anything, it's going to have an effect on us. We've had many central currencies or international currencies in history. None of them have lasted more than 100, 150 years in history. U.S. dollar has been around for several decades. So maybe it clearly is coming to an end. The fundamentals are there. Many countries are starting to look for something to compete with the US dollar. You know, the way an international currency is supposed to work, it's supposed to be neutral. But if Washington gets angry at you, they put sanctions on you and cut you off and say you cannot use the US dollar. Well, that's not what an international medium of exchange is supposed to be. So many countries, for political reasons, are looking for something to compete with the dollar. And I don't like saying it, but unfortunately, the world is now looking away from the US dollar for political and economic reasons. It's not going yet, but we're starting the process. 100 years ago, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. There was no number two. 50 years later, they were bankrupt. Literally, the IMF had to fly into Heathrow to bail them out. So it can happen. It has happened. It often happens. And the symptoms, the money printing, the debt, etc., have always led to the problem, the kind of problems you're talking about. I don't think it'll happen in 2001 or 2021 or even 2022, but it's on the way. Again, throughout history, countries that get themselves, countries or families or companies or people that get themselves too much in debt have to pay eventually. You either have to pay the price or you suffer badly. And every country in world history that has gotten itself too much in debt has gone into decline and eventually suffered. And that means the citizens have also suffered. Basically, yes, my experience and my observation is that all of this money printing it has to go somewhere. It takes a long time to build a bridge or a factory, but it's very easy to go online and you buy as much of anything as you want. And that's what's happening. Everybody has a lot of money in their pocket. There is a lot of money around, and it's going into financial assets. Will that last forever? It never has, but you say, maybe it will. Maybe it will this time. Well, I haven't forgotten about gold and silver. I own gold and silver. I'm not buying any right now, but I know I will buy more gold and more silver before this is over, because whenever things get bad, when people lose confidence in governments or in money, they always turn to gold and silver, and they will again. And sometime in the next while, gold and silver will be much, much more expensive. The value of the money is certainly going to continue to decline. As I said, the British pound went down 80% against the value of the US dollar, which replaced it as the world's reserve currency. I'm sure that the value of the US dollar is going to continue to decline. Everybody watching this knows that the dollar is not what it used to be. It depends on whether you're buying bread or gasoline or anything. It's not the same, and it continues to decline. And they're not on your side, Elliot. I told you, they want to keep their jobs. The beginning of the end of inflation? No, unfortunately, throughout history, governments like to take the easy way, and the easy way is to inflate. So we will have more inflation in the US and the world, not just in the US, but everywhere in the world. Borrowed and spent and printed a huge amount of money. When you have staggering amounts of money printed and borrowed and spent, it's nearly always led to inflation. History shows that no country stayed on top forever, 100, 200 years at the max, and then they peak and go into decline. The value of the money is certainly going to continue to decline.